Tim's News Explosion. 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 Tim's News Explosion.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of Tim's News Explosion. The date is Monday, the 29th of November, 2021. We are live, as always, on the Wilmsfront YouTube and DLive channels, as well as on the Interactive Entropy software, where you can ask me a direct question or, even better yet, send through a super chat. I see all the regulars are already in the live chat. Margot, Colin, Senator Slayer, Granny Annie. It is 8:30 p.m. here in Melbourne, Victoria, and there is so much news that I need to untwist for you this week. I don't think, like always, I can fit it into 30 minutes, but I'll do my best. That's why I had to do two Tim's News Explosion last week, one on Monday and one on Thursday. So where do I start? Obviously, last Monday had the debrief for the latest Melbourne Freedom Rally. There was another Freedom Rally this Saturday in the Melbourne CBD. It was a part of, again, another nationwide freedom, anti-lockdown, anti-mandate passport rally, the Millions March against mandatory vaccines and passports. Its organisers, well, they tend to have more sort of centre-left perspective on social issues, to basically summarise, but they're still for freedom. But I know that some of the people that went on the Patriot side weren't all that happy with they certainly didn't agree with the social justice messages put forward at the latest march, but yeah, they're for freedom. So this is the most important issue of the 2020s. Are we going to be a free society, or going to be continue to be at the whims, our lives micromanaged by these political leaders acting on health advice and science? And well, when I last came to you from the studio on Friday early evening on Trad Tasman Talk, there was, we brought to you what we thought was going to be named the new variant, NU, because the latest variant of COVID-19 was the Mu strain, which has really gone nowhere. But on Friday overnight, which is Friday in the rest of the world, the World Health Organization met and decreed that the new variant, and they'd already classified it as a variant of concern, the Omicron variant, which there's this meme going around about how first it was Alpha, then Delta, and now Omicron. And the reason why that Simpsons meme with that Futurama alien there, Omicron, the reason why that is being used is because, both The Simpsons and Futurama are Matt Groening's creations there, and that meme has been used all throughout the pandemic, and now it's got a crossover with Matt Groening's other show, Futurama, which in my opinion is his most underrated show of all time. But getting back to the WHO here, so the reason that they called it Omicron was because new would be too confusing when we're talking about the new variant, new variant. But they're also, because they're all named after letters of the Greek alphabet, they're also skipping Xi, which you would all know is I think it's the first name of the Chinese president, Xi Jinping. And so this is from a journalist here, Paul Nico, whose source confirmed the letters Nu and G of the Greek alphabet have been deliberately avoided. Nu had been skipped to avoid confusion with the word new, and G had been skipped to avoid stigmatizing a region. You mean stigmatizing a narcissistic Chinese president. Maybe the World Health Organization, they skipped over the Xi variant. Well, given that, well, everyone should refer to the original Wuhan strain as the Xi Jinping variant. That's what I think there. And Ted Cruz said, if the WHO is this scared of the Chinese Communist Party, how can they be trusted to call them out the next time they're trying to cover up a catastrophic global pandemic? Now, as soon as the mainstream media and political fear porn began about the Omicron variant, I think David Hiscock from the XYZ summarized how we were all sort of feeling. I'll bring it up here. Omicron is here. We'll be back in lockdown by the end of the week. They said, oh crap, they just about had it. They were setting up the precedent of transporting perfectly healthy people via army trunk to the crossed out death camps, quarantine facilities, courtesy of a Bulbasaurus whack job in the Northern Territory. Yes, Australia's reputational damage has continued with Michael Gunner's unhinged rants going viral all around the world, and further damaging the reputation of Australia and the eyes of the rest of the Western world. Vaccine mandates were about to become a thing in Europe, and native Europeans were expected to huddle together at home under the blankets because they couldn't afford gas because of the manufactured energy crisis. They just about had us eating the bugs, but the worldwide freedom movement got too big, so it was time to call in the heavy artillery. And this was published this morning. So New South Wales Health confirmed 2 return travellers tested positive last night on a flight from South Africa, and also late this afternoon, early evening, New South Wales Health confirmed that there was another 2 return travellers from South Africa who had tested positive in Omicron. So they're in, well, New South Wales doesn't have a quarantine camp. They have what's called a special health accommodation. That's what they call it there. The New South Wales health statement, which they put in all caps. I wonder if Dr. Kerry Chant wrote it herself. So both people who tested positive, these are the ones last night, are fully vaccinated and were asymptomatic. I'm not sure about the 2 ones tonight. There was a return traveller from South Africa who flew into the Northern Territory and was at the Howard Springs quarantine camp. He was confirmed by this guy, Michael Cunner, this afternoon, testing positive for Omicron variant. There was also a suspected Omicron case by a recent return traveller from the Southern African regions of concern. I guess you could call them that. He'd travelled from New South Wales to Victoria recently and then returned to New South Wales. Genomic sequencing has just come back, and the return traveller does not have the Omicron variant. I assume he just has Delta, which of course Delta was the game-changing variant of 2021. I guess you could call it COVID 21, and then before that the Alpha, or what was previously called the UK strain, that was basically COVID 20. The reason why the WHO decided to give the variants Greek letters of the alphabet was to avoid stigmatizing because South Africa's already had a variant before. It was the Beta variant. So this is this is a new variant to come out of South Africa, and then from South America there was the Gamma variant. So there's been all these different variants over the past couple of years, but the reason why this has the panic with this has taken off so much is because it has 32 mutations, which which a lot of people have just assumed that it'll be the worst variant yet, and it could evade the vaccines. It could be more virulent and transmissible. So we have 5 Omicron cases in Australia amongst the, thousands of active, or tens of thousands of active Delta cases that we have. But we're told that it's early days. We don't know much about the variant, but the best person to listen to about how the people who've got this variant are faring is to hear from the South African doctor, Dr. Angelique Coetzee, who is the chair of the South African Medical Association. This is she's given a few media interviews. This was her on the BBC yesterday.
Actually saw more patients coming in with the same sort of symptoms. They all tested positive. I alerted the advisory committee of the minister on the vaccines because I'm part of that committee, and that's why it's easy for me to say to them, listen, something is wrong. I have seen today a picture that doesn't fit in with Delta. And then the beginning of this past week, it came out that this is the new variant going around. What we are seeing clinically in South Africa, and remember, I'm at the epicenter, that's where I'm practicing, is extremely mild. For us, that's mild cases. We haven't admitted anyone. I spoke to other colleagues of mine, the same picture.
And this is an interview she gave with the UK Telegraph newspaper. So the headline is South African doctor who raised the alarm about Omicron variants and symptoms are unusual but mild. So it goes down here. On November 18, when 4 family members all tested positive with complete exhaustion, she informed the country's vaccine advisory committee. We had one very interesting case, a kid about 6 years old. He had a temperature and a very high pulse rate, and I wondered if I should meet her. But when I followed up 2 days later, she was so much better. Dr. Coetzee was briefing these other African medical associations, made clear patients were all healthy, and she was worried about the new variant could still hit older people. Well, if you look at the people who are dying now with COVID, I mean, we had 1,000 cases here in Victoria and 3 deaths. I think they're all in their 80s. So literally out of the 1,000 cases that we had yesterday, literally the survival rate 99.7, and we only have, out of the 11,000 active cases that we have at the moment, 300 in hospital. So she said, what we have to worry about now is that when older, unvaccinated people are infected with the new variant, and if they're not vaccinated, we are going to see many people with a severe form of the disease there. And based on a lot of her subsequent comments about the overreaction by many Western countries by banning travelers coming from Southern African nations, the South African government has condemned it and said that the world should be thanking South Africa for discovering this variant, not punishing South Africa. And I sort of get the feeling here that this doctor Angelique Coetzee, who she's said that the panic is an overreaction. She's probably thinking now, I wish I hadn't discovered it, given that there's all these sanctions on my country now. And now South Africa has had if you consider this, what is it? They were having cases in the couple of hundreds a couple of weeks back. Then they're around about the 3,000 mark, and there's only about 6 to 10 people dying per day, so very low mortality. The country is only 26% double vaccinated, but a lot of people in South Africa have natural immunity. There's no issue with supply of vaccines in South Africa. I could only assume that a lot of the blacks in South Africa don't want to take the vaccine. It's sort of the same as we have to our north, Papua New Guinea, which has a 1% double vaccination rate because it's a brown country and they don't want to take the vaccine. that is just it's also the same over in the United States, that a lot less African Americans are vaccinated than whites, and most unvaccinated population in New Zealand is the Maoris. And obviously the reason why Michael Gunner is putting the Aborigines in the Howard Springs quarantine camp is because Aborigines aren't, many of them aren't, well, they have a very low vaccination rate there. But we shouldn't listen to the lady that actually discovered the variant. We should listen to Dr. Fauci. This is what he said on, I think it was, what is it, ABC's This Week, with an interview with George Stephanopoulos, who he is a former Clinton White House communications director.
Do we expect to be seeing more lockdowns again, new lockdowns, more mandates?
You know, I don't know, George. It's really too early to say. We just really need to, as I've said so often, prepare for the worst.
Yeah, so too early to know anything, but yeah, just prepare for the worst doom. And certainly people or experts such as him, he's always in the mainstream media in the US, but the doomsday experts, they're getting a whole new mainstream media run now. And probably the political leader who has overreacted the most is the New York governor, Kathy Hochul, I think that's how you say it, who replaced Andrew Cuomo. Now, she is actually way worse than Andrew Cuomo. And this is the old adage that even if a horrible leftist politician resigns, they're likely to be replaced by someone worse. And so she's already the governor of New York. She's basically Gretchen Whitmer 2.0, I guess you could call her, say, the Kathy Hochul, the Wicked Witch of the Atlantic, or the Wicked Witch of the East Coast, because Gretchen Whitmer was the governor of Michigan. She was called the Wicked Witch of the Midwest. So she's already declared a state of emergency, which goes in effect December 3, which will allow the state to acquire pandemic fighting supplies, increase hospital capacity, fight potential staffing shortages, because she fired a whole bunch of health professionals for being unvaccinated, and also allow the health department to limit non-essential, non-urgent procedures at hospital. We continue to see warning signs of spikes this upcoming winter, and while the new Omicron variant has yet to be detected in New York State, it hasn't been detected in New York yet, it's coming. So that's the biggest overreactor there. Now, we shall go back to the events of the latest Freedom Rally on the Saturday. There's basically a Freedom Rally every weekend in all the major cities in Australia. I'm not sure what the one is next Saturday, December the 4th. I know that's when the campaign against racism and fascism are holding their next anti-freedom protest there. Now, we brought to you last week that there was a positive case traced to the campaign against racism and fascism, which is the Socialist Alternative Front group. There was a positive COVID case traced to that anti-freedom rally, even though they were double vaxxed and wearing masks. And maybe this is possibly why, because the Victorian Health Department today said that there has been 19 people who have tested positive for COVID, who I think this includes all the freedom rallies for November. So investigations into the people who contracted the virus ongoing, but public health officials believe 9 cases were infectious when they attended the protest, and 7 others probably acquired the infections at the protest. Only one of the 19 was fully vaccinated, while 2 had received 1 dose, and there's apparently 1 in hospital. So maybe this is an extension of the anti-freedom calf cluster there. We don't know, but given, well, you saw, what is that? The chief commissioner of Victoria Police, Shane Patton, said, well, they estimated that crowd sizes were 10 to 20,000, way more than that. They're in the hundreds of thousands, and well, so it's they called a super spreader event every week, and for, what is it, 19 cases to be, what is it? Well, 19 people to be linked or to test positive to COVID who were in attendance out of, what is it, hundreds of thousands, maybe in 500,000. That's a very small positivity rate, especially for an event which is out in the open air, and it's been beautiful weather there. I noticed that James Newbury, Difficult Nerd on Twitter, said, obviously calling them neo-Nazi white supremacists didn't work, so let's just call them COVID super spreaders. Now, we also had another reported example of anti-vax or violence, property damage. So so at the Bricky Cafe on Hutton Street in Northcote, apparently anti-vax vandals, they threw bricks at the window and door, and a death threat letter was left on the front door. Cafe owner Simon Candace said it was a big shock, and it goes down here. They said, basically, if you continue to support and follow Dan Andrews, we're going to burn your cafe down and we're going to kill you. Mr. Candice says he's not extreme either way politically, and all he's done is follow the government's COVID-19 rules, which require customers to be fully vaccinated. The cafe owner has reported the vandalism to police, but he fears that'll happen again. I don't know what to do. I'm going to have to ask for a bit of assistance from the police. So this is a very strange instance. Why did they target his business in particular? I mean, he didn't say that he'd had a recent blow up with an anti-vaxxer who was denied entry, and Northcote is not really a hotspot of anti-vax far-right extremists there. So this is very curious. Now, obviously, it's going to continue for some time. The alarm about the Omicron variant. Apparently, we won't know for 2 weeks how well the vaccines will go against this variant. But given that, we know that with the Delta variant, people who are double jabbed can still transmit and infect others. But the good news is that we're going to be saved from the Omicron variant by Pfizer, who Pfizer BioNTech said their vaccine could be reworked in 100 days to counter strain. This is from Fox Business here. So don't panic, everyone. Just another booster of Pfizer, but Novavax, which is the vaccine that has been in development for a while now. It's only been approved by a few countries. They've applied here. So Novavax have said that they can basically tweak their vaccine, which is it's the spike protein. It has like a synthetic version of the virus, so it's not a real virus. So it's more like a traditional flu vaccine, even though it doesn't have the real virus in it. It has a synthetic virus. So this is from the Jerusalem Post. They say they think they can do better than Pfizer, and can tweak their vaccine in a few weeks. So, yeah, if a booster is mandated, I'll definitely be getting the Novavax as a booster, because of course, and I'm not the only one who says this. Novavax is the one true vaccine in the game of vaccines. But a lot of, well, conspiracy theorists, and we know that a lot of conspiracy theorists have been right of recent times, with basically the lag time between conspiracy theory and fact going from years to basically 6 months and 6 weeks. A lot of people are saying this new strain is just a distraction because Ghislaine Maxwell, pedophile billionaire, well, deceased pedophile billionaire Jeffrey Epstein's madame, who was arrested over a year ago, is going on trial this week, charged with child sex trafficking. And, well, I think we're all amazed that she survived all this time. She hasn't been suicided. And yes, this, forget about the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. This is really the trial of the 21st century. Are we finally going to get more information on just how deep the Epstein-Maxwell pedophile ring went into elite socialite circles? So we should definitely be watching this as well, especially, well, as I said, it's like a miracle she's still alive. She hasn't committed suicide. So definitely keep your eye on that. Now, we had on Sunday, it was broken in the News Corp papers, that the Morrison government, they're looking at passing laws that would force social media companies to give out the names and contact details of anonymous accounts who post defamatory material. So this is apparently how it'll work. So the laws would require social media companies to collect the details of users and allow courts to force companies to hand over the identities of users to aid defamation cases. Social media companies would also be made legally liable for the content they publish from users, removing liability to individuals and companies that manage pages. Well, given that Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube are pretty much publishers now, given that they're very selective about what they allow on the platform, and they do their own fact checking now. The legislation will be released in draft form this week and expect to be introduced by Parliament by early next year. Prime Minister Scott Morrison said he wanted to close the gap between real life and discourse online. The rules that exist in the real world must exist in the digital and online world. Under the proposal, social media companies will be required to create a complaints process for people who feel they've been defamed online. Well, they sort of already do with, you can report a defamatory post to Facebook's community standards. Often posts that come from right-leaning accounts are taken down immediately, but those from left-leaning social media accounts, they seem to not violate the community standards. The complaint process will allow people to ask that the material be taken down by the user if they feel it is defamatory. If the user is unwilling to take down the content, or the complainant wants to take further action, the company asks a user for their consent to release their personal details. If the user does not consent to the details being released, a court order can be made requiring the company to release them, allowing the complainant to pursue defamation action. Mr. Morrison said the government will be happy to intervene in court and take on social media companies trying to avoid releasing personal details. So it's not completely clear what sort of data social media companies might be required to collect from users in order to comply with the new laws, but indications will likely include a user's name, email address, and contact phone number. The rules would not apply to new users joining a service, but to existing users too. So there's a lot to be worked out there, but it could be the end of, anonymous accounts that, have for many years slandered, doxed, and defamed patriots like Slack Bastard and the White Rose Society. They would be forced to be unmasked, as would a lot of the Dan Andrews, Dan Stans bot armies, such as the PR guy 17, but also, Antifa activists, they might be able to find out the identity of the most feared doxer of them, which is David Clarkson. Alex Mann of the ABC did a whole ABC background briefing program on exposing who he thought David Clarkson was. Never did a story trying to expose who Slack Bastard was. So this will be very, very interesting here. I mean, the end of anonymity on the internet, I mean, it wouldn't bother me. Obviously, I don't like increase in government regulations on the internet, but I broadcast under my real name. All my social media accounts that promote the Unshackled have my name on it there. And what is it? If I go, apparently the trigger for this was, I wasn't aware of these rumors until Barnaby Joyce himself. So under the government's flagged in the wake of online rumors spread about Deputy PM Barnaby Joyce's daughter because she worked in John Barilaro's office. The rumor was that she was having an affair with John Barilaro. I didn't know about this rumor until basically Barnaby Joyce said that it was being talked about there. But yeah, apparently because this happened to Barnaby Joyce, it's been now a government priority there. Now, speaking of anonymous trolls and also fake news, there has been a doctored seven news article here that was shared online. This is obviously completely fake. So the headline is Daniel Andrews called unvaccinated a bunch of N's and says they should drink from separate water fountains. So apparently the story is Victorian Premier Dan Andrews says individuals who haven't received the latest COVID-19 Pfizer products are a bunch of N's. He then made a gesture, turning his head away from the cameras in disgust and spitting on the ground. His previous announcement that he wants to hunt them all down have been widely criticized among civil rights groups. Today's comments suggest a new segregation policy in which unvaccinated will need to drink from separate water fountains for the foreseeable future. I have drawn similar criticisms. Well, that fake news headline, it sort of goes back to what I was talking about before, that given that it's, many blacks from African nations and Western nations who don't get the vax, that means that vaccine passports, they're basically a form of segregation. And what is it? If they had them in South Africa, where this new Omicron variant has been born, well, basically, then they'd be going back to apartheid. Now, the South African president, Cyril Ramaphosa, has said that there'll be no new restrictions, but the UK has slapped on masks people in public transport and in retail shops under the threat of a $200 fine. Now, Dan Andrews, he's been on a publicity blitz. He's done puff interviews with all the major television stations, because it's a year away to the state election, where amazingly he is on path for a crushing victory and a third term. Basically, it's 60-40 in Labor's favour. So on Saturday, Dan caught up with Anthony Albanese at a barbecue, but many people on social media have studied this, and it doesn't look like the barbecue is on, and it doesn't look like that those meats have like they're grilled. It looks like they're pan fried, and Dan and Elbow are not the first politicians to stage photos like this. I remember that, last year, Matthias Cormann, who, when he was going for the job of the OECD, he did a barbecue photo pose where, well, they didn't even bother to pre-cook the meat. It was just raw, put on an unlit barbecue. And I remember back in the Bennelong by-election of 2017, John Alexander and his electorate staff, they had a photo of themselves calling constituents on phones, yet the phones weren't plugged in. Now, Dan's permanent pandemic laws go before the upper house tomorrow. It's the last sitting week of Parliament. He's trying to get one more crossbencher over the line, either Rod Barton of Transport Matters or Clifford Hayes from the Sustainable Australia Party. And obviously, a lot of people have said, the Omicron variant couldn't have come at a better time for Dan to try and push through his permanent pandemic laws. Obviously, people are in Victoria rightly paranoid with this new variant, even though there is no evidence that yet that it is more virulent or it makes the vaccines invalid or is more transmissible. But yeah, we all know how Dan Andrews has behaved over the last 20 months. But the guy that wants to replace Dan Andrews as Premier, Matthew Guy, old new Liberal leader, has said no ifs, no buts, no more lockdowns. But in the fine print, because what is it? This is what he said. The coalition will guarantee lockdowns are a thing of the past, Mr. Guy says at the launch of a Rebuild Victoria rally. Under questioning, Mr. Guy was later forced to concede there could be very, very limited circumstances the lockdowns were required. I don't think I'll get into the circumstance, to be frank. So basically read the fine print, the terms and conditions of that pledge there. So it has broken just before I went to air that the Morrison government, after a National Security Committee meeting, has decided to delay the planned arrival of migrant workers, international students and refugees from December 1 to December 15th, which business groups have slammed. They say that will hinder Australia's post-pandemic recovery. And there is a national cabinet meeting tomorrow it's being billed as, not an emergency meeting to discuss the new variant, but basically to see that all the state and territory leaders are on the same page. Amazingly, Anastasia Palaszczuk in Queensland and Mark McGowan of Western Australia have said that no, at the moment we don't plan to push back our scheduled reopening. Both Victoria and New South Wales, they've slapped on 72 hours of self-isolation for all international travellers. And for those who come from the Southern African nations of concern, they have to go into, hotel quarantine, or what's it called, the special health accommodation in New South Wales, the Mickleham quarantine camp in Victoria that'll apparently be ready by Christmas. It's not ready yet, but yes. That will be used going forward. When the next variant comes and everyone freaks out about it, even though the history of viruses is when they mutate, they become more transmissible, but they become less deadly. That's the way they survive. And even though there's been there's basically been a I think it was one of the good doctors, Greg Dawes, said that the Omicron variant has evaded all common sense. And well, the head of the Australian Medical Association seemed to have what is it? Been infected with a bit of irrationality, because the AMA, they've been the body calling for all these stage 4 lockdowns and don't reopen too soon. He actually said today, Omicron is spreading fast in unvaccinated. Lots of fear and unknowns while we wait for answers, but there's something we can all do to protect against a whole alphabet, actually Greek alphabet soup of COVID variants. Double dose vax and booster at 6 months. More vax equals less restrictions. Well, that is what we were sold. Obviously, sold two doses first, and definitely the third dose is going to become mandatory. There's also talk about whether the booster needs to be brought forward from 6 months to maybe 5 or 4 months. So could be getting, 3 to 4 boosters per year. And before we go, I must note that an anagram of Omicron is moronic, and also a good Photoshop of the Elbow Dan fake barbecue is with the Xi variant, Xi Jinping variant, which we know Dan is a fan of, and well, Elbow with Christina Keneally and Penny Wong in his shadow cabinet. Certainly, he is not very immune from the Xi Jinping variant. But that's all for Tim's News Explosion this week. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I'll get back onto the home screen. Oh, there is one more meme here. So if you want to basically protect your protect yourself from this from the panic about this new variant, there's a thing you can do is just turn off the mainstream media and use antivirus wipes on your TV as well. That's an old meme there. But yep, that's it for Tim's News Explosion for this week. I might be back for a Wilms Front this Thursday. I'm not going to cover any more freedom rallies myself. I'm exhausted from covering the last two. And plus I've got a whole bunch of back-end things here to do at the Unshackled, but I'm sure Andy and Margot will continue to cover it on behalf of the Unshackled. We're going to be publishing shortly on the Unshackled YouTube channel Margot's edited highlights from the day there. Margot, you need to check that the version is all ready to go. It should be up by the time people are watching this replay. All right, good night, everybody.
Tim's News Explosion. 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 Tim's News Explosion.